What if I told you that Native Americans built cities bigger than London, practiced sexual ceremonies that stunned Europeans, and developed survival systems still unmatched today? From 10-hour hunts to ritual tattoos and secret love tents, their lives were more complex than any Hollywood movie. Stay with me, because you're about to discover 10 hidden dimensions of America's first civilizations, backed by real evidence. Chapter 1. How did the day begin? Before the first arrow was drawn or corn was ground, dawn rituals shaped everything. What if I told you sunrise ceremonies sometimes involved full-body paint, secret chants, and even public nudity? Picture yourself waking up in Cahokia around the year 1100, when this city along the Mississippi River rivaled medieval London in sheer population. You'd crawl from a longhouse stretching over 100 feet, the air thick with wood smoke and the low murmur of prayers. Elders began the day by burning sweetgrass, a practice they believed opened the heart to good thoughts. According to archaeologists, they also aligned their entire city to track the sun, planting wooden poles as solar calendars, more accurate than many European tools of the era. In the southwest, Pueblo priests slipped into stone kivas at first light, using shafts carved through rock to catch the exact moment the sun pierced the horizon. They believed this moment anchored the world's balance, a ritual so old that Spanish invaders wrote, "These heathens worship the dawn itself." And if you wandered into Lakota territory, you'd find men coating their cheeks, and sometimes their erect penises, in a red ochre paste mixed with bear fat. It wasn't decoration, it was a public signal. Strength, readiness, and sexual vitality, offered straight to the spirits. Meanwhile, Chumash families on the Channel Islands began every morning with saltwater bathing. Spanish missionaries were scandalized to watch entire villages, men, women, and children, strip naked and plunge into the cold Pacific before cooking breakfast. One French explorer wrote in 1669 that he witnessed a sunrise ritual in the Great Lakes region where elders smeared their faces in ash to remind them life was as fleeting as smoke. These dawn ceremonies weren't quaint folklore. They were living proof of how every day started with collective purpose. If you stick with me, I'll show you next how that purpose carried straight into the foods that built entire nations. Some tribes called dawn the hour when all things remember their name, a time so sacred that speaking too loudly could be considered a direct insult to the sun itself. Chapter 2. What did they eat? Imagine waking up starving, knowing every bite you'd eat took weeks to prepare. Ever wondered why native diets still fascinate scientists today? And what happened when explorers tried to copy them? Across North America, food wasn't only survival, it was science in motion. The Iroquois Confederacy built enormous communal fields where women produced up to 70% of the daily calories, mainly from corn, beans, and squash, the three sisters. Planting them together wasn't random. Corn grew tall, beans climbed the stalks, and squash leaves shaded the soil, locking in moisture and choking out weeds. Botanists today call this polyculture, but for the Haudenosaunee, it was just how you fed 25,000 people in a single nation. In the Pacific Northwest, the Tlingit spent summers hauling salmon from rivers so packed the water turned silver. They smoked the flesh over cedar planks, sometimes drying 300 pounds per family, then storing it in bentwood boxes lined with seal fat to last the entire winter. A Russian trader in 1794 described watching a single clan pack away enough fish to feed a ship's crew for a year. Down in Florida, the Temuca gathered water lily tubers, roasted alligator tail, and brewed black drink, a powerful caffeinated tea that could make a grown man vomit. They believed purging cleansed the spirit and prepared the body for feats of endurance. And the Apache? They didn't just hunt deer. They also roasted prairie dogs in massive earth ovens, burying them with hot stones, sealing in steam overnight. Spanish chroniclers wrote in shocked tones about the delicate flesh, eaten with relish and laughter. If you tried to eat like this today, you'd survive, nutritionally, better than most modern diets. Stay with me, because next I'm going to show you how they risked their lives to hunt the animals that kept all this going. Some elders claimed every meal was a conversation with ancestors, a moment when the living and dead briefly sat at the same table. Chapter 3. How did they hunt? Imagine sprinting across open plains, a 150-pound bow in your hands, knowing missing a shot meant starvation. But what if hunting wasn't only survival? What if it was sacred theater? The Comanche were born riders. By the 1700s, they could track bison herds for 80 miles in a single day, loosing arrows at full gallop. Spanish soldiers called them the finest light cavalry on earth. In the Arctic, Inuit women waited motionless beside seal holes, sometimes 12 hours in minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, fingers wrapped in caribou hide. A single kill meant life or death for the entire camp. The Apache hunted deer and elk with communal drives. Dozens of people would circle prey, driving them toward concealed nets. Spanish observers in 1541 wrote, "Their stealth is so complete, a man could walk within a hand's breadth of them and see nothing." Children joined early. Pawnee boys aged 6 learned to herd bison calves, while Navajo girls studied edible plants, sometimes memorizing 100 species before puberty. Hunting was wrapped in belief. Many tribes practiced sexual taboos, no intimacy for days before the chase, fearing it offended the spirits of the animals. Lakota hunters painted their faces and even their penises in ochre, a signal of readiness no one could misunderstand. One explorer in 1680 described it this way: "They do not eat without prayer, nor kill without apology. If you stay with me, I'll show you how, after all this danger, they turn survival into celebration." Often in ways that shocked European eyes. A single bison could feed a village for months, but every hunter knew failure could mean watching children go hungry by January. Chapter 4. How did they relax? You might think survival left no time for fun, but native life pulsed with competition and desire. Ever wondered why gambling debts could cost a warrior everything, or how dances turned into midnight hookups? In Cahokia, men played chunky, rolling polished stone discs across packed clay. Spectators bet furs, weapons, and sometimes their freedom, as European traders recorded in shock. One French chronicler in 1703 claimed a player wagered his wife and children in a single match. The Choctaw played stickball, sometimes called the little brother of war. Teams of 300 men hurled wooden balls, tackling and clubbing each other in games lasting from sunrise past sunset. Winners didn't just take prizes, they gained political leverage and bragging rights. In winter lodges, the Haudenosaunee gathered around dice made of split beaver teeth. Elders bet blankets, beads, and tobacco. Entire fortunes vanished in one night, a Jesuit missionary wrote in 1646, appalled but fascinated. Romance hid behind the games. Among the Mandan, seasonal love dances let women pick lovers. Some Plains tribes created secret love tents, places where young people experimented before marriage. Missionaries tried to ban them, usually without success, and every move carried meaning. A glance during a dance could signal an affair. A poorly timed bet could cost a family's reputation. Some elders said, "A man who can't risk losing doesn't deserve winning." If you stay with me, I'll show you how these evenings turn villages into living classrooms, where legends and taboos were burned into every child's memory. Among the Zuni Lamana, people living between genders were allowed to mediate disputes and join dances as equals, a freedom Europeans refused to understand. Chapter 5. What happened after dark? When darkness swallowed the land, something magical happened. Have you ever wondered how a single fire could teach survival, morality, and even sexual codes all at once? In Cherokee villages, elders recited the 7 clans' origin story, passing it down unchanged for over 1,000 years. Children sat wide-eyed as tales wove together, hunting wisdom and cosmic law. "Every word is a thread," an elder once said. "Lose one, and the blanket unravels." Among the Lakota, families gathered to hear stories of White Buffalo Calf Woman, who brought the sacred pipe and taught respect for all living things. But not every tale was solemn. Trickster myths, like coyote seducing married women or stealing food, served as both comedy and caution. Pueblo kivas glowed with torchlight as men debated politics and planned ceremonies. Spanish explorers in 1540 wrote, "They speak in riddles and parables, so the children learn without knowing they are taught." Dreams held serious weight. Among the Ojibwe, a vivid dream could be offered as evidence during disputes. One Jesuit chronicler described the custom as witchcraft masquerading as justice, unable to grasp how dreams and law intertwined. And after stories came songs. Some honored the dead. Others, like certain Navajo chants, celebrated fertility so graphically that missionaries tried to ban them outright. Parents believed no knowledge was too raw. Children learned that life included hunger, joy, betrayal, and desire, and that every lesson carried the weight of the ancestors. If you stay with me, I'll show you next how discipline wasn't about punishment alone, but about forging character that could withstand famine or war. Many tribes called night the hour when truth walks around unmasked, a time when stories could say what daylight never dared. Chapter 6. How did they keep order without prisons? What if I told you justice in native societies could be more ruthless and more compassionate than anything in Europe? Imagine a world where gossip, exile, or a single glance could destroy your status forever. Among the Iroquois Confederacy, power balanced on consensus. The Council of Clan Mothers could strip a chief of his title with a single vote, no trial required. Women are the soul of the law, French traders noted in 1653, bewildered that female elders wielded more power than any governor. Stealing wasn't merely a crime, it was an insult to the entire village. A Cherokee thief might be forced to repay twice the value or face exile, which often meant death in winter. Among the Hopi, chronic offenders were paraded in animal skins, a public humiliation that burned deeper than any whipping. Adultery could provoke spectacle. A Navajo husband might cut off part of his wife's hair to announce betrayal, a mark no one could hide. In some tribes, a scorned husband had the right to beat or even kill his rival if caught in the act. Yet justice could also be restorative. Among the Lakota, an offender could make peace by gifting horses or blankets, restoring balance without shedding blood. Gossip was a lethal weapon. A Haudenosaunee woman's reputation could be destroyed by a single song mocking her conduct, sung at dances where everyone listened. Shame is a fire, an elder said. It consumes what cannot be repaired. If you stay with me, I'll show you how sex and marriage weren't separate from survival, but woven into every rule and right. Some Cherokee called exile the invisible knife because it killed you without leaving a scar anyone could see. Chapter 7. What were their sexual customs? Ever wondered why early missionaries wrote pages of complaints about native sexual freedom? These customs weren't hidden. They were part of daily life, as normal as planting corn or hunting elk. Among the Apache, girls celebrated their first menstruation with the sunrise ceremony. 4 days of songs, dancing, and blessings. By dawn, she was declared a woman with the strength to bear the tribe's future. One Spanish priest in 1730 wrote that the entire camp feasts as if a queen were crowned. The Lakota Winkta, biological men who lived as women, held sacred roles. They could marry warriors, adopt children, and conduct ceremonies. An 1830 explorer called them living contradictions, but Lakota families respected their spiritual gifts. Among the Crow, polygamy secured alliances. Chief Plenty Coups had 3 wives, each from different clans, uniting their families into one powerful network. Wives shared work and raised children communally. Sexual discipline, however, had sharp edges. Among the Hopi, infidelity could lead to a public whipping or a forced walk through the village wearing nothing but a belt of yucca leaves. Navajo couples faced steep fines, up to 20 sheep, enough to ruin a household. Some tribes embraced open courtship. The Mandan love dances let women pick lovers in public, an act Europeans tried to ban repeatedly. These rituals weren't orgies. They were contracts of trust, witnessed by the whole community. And yes, body modification mattered. Among the Northwest Coast tribes, genital tattoos marked adulthood and clan identity, indelible proof of belonging. If you stay with me, I'll show you next how children learned all of this, not in secret, but side by side with parents. One Dakota elder said, "Desire is a river. You can't dam it without drowning everyone upstream." Chapter 8. How did children learn so much so young? Imagine growing up where every sunrise was a lesson and every mistake could cost you your life. How did kids become masters of survival before they could even write their names? Among the Lakota, boys began tracking at age 5, trailing deer across prairie grass so tall it swallowed them whole. A father might whisper, "The wind is your teacher," as a child learned to read bent grass blades and faint hoof prints. By 10, some could hit moving targets at 50 paces. Pueblo girls memorized planting cycles tied to 18 moon phases, each phase dictating when to sow corn or harvest beans. A woman's entire reputation rested on knowing exactly when the earth was ready. Inuit children learned to butcher seals by age 7, using knives crafted from walrus ivory. One explorer in 1823 marveled, "They dissect with more precision than surgeons." Education was never hidden. During winter, elders recited lineage histories stretching back 7 generations. By adolescence, most kids could recite their family's origin, including the names of every ancestor who shaped their bloodline. Discipline was constant but rarely violent. Among the Cherokee, a child who disrespected elders might be sent into the woods alone overnight to reflect and remember humility. "Fear the shame more than the dark," parents warned. Games taught stealth. Apache children wore rabbit hides tied to their ankles, learning to move silently. Every step built skills that could decide whether they ate or starved. If you stay with me, I'll show you next how these same skills helped build civilizations that rivaled Europe in complexity. An old Mandan saying claimed, "We do not teach children lessons, we teach them to notice." Chapter 9, how did they build massive civilizations without modern tools? Imagine constructing cities larger than medieval London without iron, wheels, or draft animals. How did Native Americans engineer such marvels, often hidden in plain sight? Take Cahokia, near present-day St. Louis. At its peak around 1200 AD, it covered over 6 square miles with a population of 40,000 to 50,000, larger than London at the same time. Its centerpiece, Monk's Mound, rises over 100 feet high, with a base larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Archaeologists estimate it took hundreds of thousands of human hours to build, moving soil by hand using woven baskets. Down in the southwest, the ancestral Puebloans constructed vast complexes like Chaco Canyon, a network of 15 great houses connected by roads stretching over 400 miles. These roads were remarkably straight and wide enough for 2 horses to pass, demonstrating a surprising degree of planning. The Hohokam people engineered an extensive irrigation system in what is now Arizona, constructing over 500 miles of canals to redirect Colorado River water to arid lands. Some canals date back to 300 AD and were in use for over 1,000 years. All these feats were accomplished without metal tools, using stone, bone, and wood. Labor was communal and highly organized, with spiritual significance attached to every mound and road. If you think this sounds like lost knowledge, you're not alone. Modern engineers study these sites to understand sustainable urban design, ancient solutions to problems we still face today. And if you stick with me, the final chapter will reveal the spiritual force that held these mighty civilizations together, the unseen thread binding land, people, and purpose. The Mississippian culture's decline in the 1300s remains a mystery. Some speculate climate change or social upheaval, but their legacies endure. Chapter 10, what was the spiritual glue? Holding it all together, imagine a worldview where everything, land, animals, humans, and spirits, is connected by invisible threads. What if the key to their survival wasn't just farming or hunting, but a belief system that wove life into a sacred whole? The Lakota called this Mitakuye Oyasing, meaning all my relations. It's a powerful concept recognizing that every living thing shares a family bond. This wasn't abstract. It dictated how they hunted, cared for the sick, and treated enemies. Even enemies were seen as relatives, deserving respect to maintain harmony. Among the Cherokee, the belief that the earth was alive shaped daily actions, from planting crops to settling disputes. Every river, mountain, and tree had a spirit, demanding gratitude and reciprocity. In Pueblo culture, the Kachina, masked spiritual beings, were believed to visit during ceremonies, bringing rain, fertility, and protection. Their dances weren't performances, but sacred acts ensuring the survival of crops and people alike. Sexuality, too, was sacred. Fertility rites were celebrations of life's continuity. The acceptance of two-spirit individuals, those embodying both masculine and feminine traits, demonstrates a flexible, profound understanding of human nature. This spiritual foundation forged resilience, allowing communities to rebuild after droughts, invasions, and upheaval. It's why, centuries later, many native traditions still survive despite efforts to erase them. If you reflect on this, maybe the true secret of their daily life was this interconnectedness, a lesson modern society desperately needs. And that's the story behind every sunrise, every meal, every dance, and every whispered legend. If you found this journey eye-opening, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Because the past isn't dead, it's waiting to teach us how to live better. If this blew your mind, subscribe now for more untold history. Comment your favorite fact, share this video, and join us as we uncover the secrets textbooks always leave out.